Today we will start with a new chapter in history, chapter number 2, European powers in India. European powers in India. Open your books to page number 15. Page number 15. Now, as you all know that we have been under the control of the Britishers for approximately 200 years. Now, how that happened, what was the beginning to it, how the Britishers they came to India, and we know that there were not only the East India Company that came here, but there were other trading companies also from other countries of Europe that were also here in India. So what happened to them and how finally Britishers were able to rule over us and strengthen their position here in India. So all that we will study during the course of this chapter. Now we start with mercantilism. Now what is mercantilism? Now it simply means commercialism, means you just maximize your profit. So mercantilism, it emphasizes maximizing profit, means try to get as much profits as you possibly can. Now mercantilism, it was a political as well as economic system. So like when we study to maximize profit, so obviously to us it appears that it would be only an economic system, but this was such an economic system that it also led to having control over the governance, and hence it is also a political as well as economic system. This rose in the 17th and the 18th centuries, and it purports, means it appears to say, now what is mercantilism? It says that a country's economic strength, it is related, it is directly related if you maintain a balance of trade. So the strength, economic strength of a country depends whether the country is able to have a balance of trade or not. Now what that means is that in order that you are economically and politically viable, means successful. So in order a country wishes to be politically as well as economically successful, so what a country should do, they should export more than they import. So that is what it says, that you need to export more than you import. Why? Because when you are importing, so they are bringing things in your country, and you are paying them, so your money is going out. But when we export, so we are sending our things to other countries, and they pay us back. So what it means is that more money is coming to our home country. So that is why they said that if we want our economy to be successful, then we need to export more than we import. And such a balance of trade, if we achieve such a balance of trade, then according to this mercantilist thought or mercantilist theory, it results that you have more gold in such a country. So if any country is practicing mercantilism, then what will happen, they will have more gold in their country, because at that time all these trading activities and all, so mostly either it was barter system, that you like I give you rice, you give me wheat, but or it was like if you do not have anything in return, I don't want anything from your country in return, so you pay me in either gold or silver. So that was the case, and so basically it was more gold. And so what will happen, if you will sell more, if you will export more, then obviously you will have more money coming in your home market. Now 18th century Scottish economist Adam Smith, now though he did not support, he was not an advocate or a proponent or a supporter of mercantilism, but he was responsible for coming up with this term mercantile system. So he coined the term mercantile system, and now mercantilism was in opposition. Now what Smith proposed was opposite to mercantilism, and what Smith stood for, so he stood for free trade, that trade should be free, free businesses should be there, and the movement of people and goods should be free, means there should not be many restrictions and imposition of taxes on the movement of goods and people. So there should be free trade. People who want to come and join in, they should be free to come and join, and there should be free business, means the state, the government should not have control over it. That is what it means. So in other words, this mercantilism, it went against the precepts or the general rules of laissez-faire economy. Now, what is laissez-faire economy? It is basically a free market economy, or you can say it is like a capitalist economy. We have already done capitalism in the last chapter, and so basically now Lazarus Fair economy is a free market economy. All right, it is a capital sort of economy, and it is against government intervention. All right, so it is against the government intervention. And now one of the key assertions, or one of the key things on which mercantilism holds, is that national wealth will come through the import. It is wrongly written import, make it exports. So national wealth will come through exports and accumulation of gold or other precious metals such as silver. So though Adam Smith, he was not a supporter of mercantilism, because what he supported was actually opposed to mercantilism. But mercantilism, what it basically meant was that national wealth, if you want to increase your national wealth, then you need to increase your exports, and then you could have more gold and silver in your country as your national wealth. Now, to acquire wealth, what should the countries do? They should export the maximum quantity of goods and restrict its import. So if any country, they want to acquire wealth, become wealthy, then they should export more and import less, means send out more and take in less. The balance of trade must remain, and in this way the balance of trade will remain profitable and favorable, and the gold reserves in the country, they will grow. Now, advantages of mercantilism, basically it helps the nation become imperialist by the growth. Now, why imperialist? Because you want to export more. Okay, so you need more things also to make. Okay, if you don't have so much to export, so how will you go on exporting? So basically what it led to imperialism. We have already done imperialism in the first history chapter. Now that was the political as well as economic control over weak country by a powerful or a strong country. And so in this case also, this mercantilism also led to imperialism, because the countries, they wanted to have more resources. Okay, so more resources, more raw material. So with more raw material, more resources, you will be able to produce more, and when you are able to produce more, then you will be able to sell more also. And for selling also you need markets. So easily, if you have a colony, then from there you can get the raw materials also cheaply. Alright, and then you also have that country under your control, so you can finish your products and you can again sell them there. So you are even exporting there. And so this led to imperialism and need for more colonies. And thus what happens, the wealth of the home nation, it will increase. So that is what happened with India and England. They came here, and they took raw materials from us at very cheap rates, which they got because they had control over here. So they got it at cheap rates, then they finished the products and again sold them here. So they, from their country, it was exports into our country. And so in turn they were getting wealth and money from here. So what happened, the home nation, it increases in wealth, it grows, it has growth. And whereas the country, the colony, it goes on digressing, whereas the home country, it progresses, it becomes more wealthy, whereas the colony, it becomes more poor. Now, imperial nations have increased growth domestically and help fuel a better economy. So, obviously, if you have more money coming in, and you are doing more exports and all that, so obviously your economy will become better. Now, what were the disadvantages of this mercantilism system or mercantilism? Now, the colonies that are taken, or they are established by the home nation, they are left underdeveloped and totally dependent on the home nation. Because why underdeveloped? Because the country who is ruling over them, they are not concerned about their progress. They are simply concerned to maximize their profits. What is mercantilism? It is just emphasizing on maximizing your profit. So, these home nations who were making colonies, they were simply concerned about maximizing their profits. That's all. They were not concerned about the welfare of the people who were in the colonies. So, these home the colonies, they were left underdeveloped and they were left dependent on these home nation. And now, because they wanted to increase, these imperial countries, they wanted to increase their gold supply, and so their gold supply increased, whereas the resources of the colony, they went on decreasing. And so this growth of new colonies and imperialism for the gold supply of a single nation, it leads to uh, unchecked nationalism and its negative effects. So basically what we mean to say is that because of mercantilism, what happened, that on one hand, the home country, all right, the country who is practicing mercantilism, they go on becoming more wealthy and more powerful and more gold in their country as well. And on the other hand, the colony, it is left underdeveloped. The economy also declines, all right, and the money in their country, it also becomes less, because the imperialist countries are totally governing it. Okay, and they are doing all that to maximize their own profit. That's it. So that was mercantilism. Now let's move on. Major global trade routes. Now, after the Mughal Empire, it disintegrated, so the Marathas, it appeared that they will rise to power, but they also declined. The Marathas, they also declined. They were not able to establish such a big empire here after the Afghan invasion. And within the next 20 years, a large part of our country, they came under the direct control of the British East India Trading Company. So, after the Mughals, it seemed that the Marathas will rise to power, but they were not able to do so. And within the next 20 years, a large part of our country was under the control of the English East India Company. Now, the discovery of a direct sea route from the western coast of Europe to India, now that was a really huge event, and it had far reaching, means the effects of that particular thing were so many on India as well as on the other parts of the world also, that, and especially on Europe. So this establishment of a direct sea route from Western Europe to India, now that had so many effects on India as well as Europe. Now India, they had, means even before this trade route was formed, so they had flourishing trade with Europe. India had a flourishing trade with Europe, Africa, Middle East and Southeast Asia from the very early times. So India already, before this direct sea route was found, before that also, India had trade links with all these countries. And but now, better transport facilities, they increased the feasibility, means convenience, that now without any difficulty, Indian could trade with Europe, India could trade with Europe. So with better transport facilities, they increase the convenience with which we could have trade with Europe. No doubt, all India, they always had a contact with Europe, so they had trade with Europe. But with the discovery of a new sea route, okay, who discovered this direct sea route to India? Anyone knows?
Vasco da Gama.
Oh,
Vasco da
all
Gama.
right.
Vasco
Vasco
da
da
Gama.
Gama. So, this discovery of a new sea route by Vasco da Gama, it opened a new chapter in our country's economy. And, the Europeans, they bought from India, they bought spices and indigo. What is indigo? Anyone knows?
Ma'am, color? Ma'am, color?
Which color?
Ma'am, color? Blue. Ma'am, dark blue.
Okay, so it is
Ma'am,
a
dark,
blue
dark blue.
color dye. So, they were interested in spices from here. Then indigo, saltpeter. Saltpeter?
Ma'am, it is used to make the gunpowder.
Yes, gunpowder, right? And textiles. So, they were interested in buying these things from India. And why they needed, because the Europeans, they needed spices to preserve their food, indigo to dye cloth, and saltpeter to make gunpowder. And the fine textiles, that came from India, they satisfied the needs of the high class and the nobles or the aristocratic people of Europe. So they needed these things from India, and the Europeans, they paid in gold and silver. And so Indian merchants, they earned a lot of wealth in this process. So this is, before the Britishers were able to establish the rule here. Now this we are talking before that what happened. But from the 15th to the 19th century, a pattern of global trade, it emerged, and it was mainly based on mercantilism. But from this was earlier, but from 15th century to 19th century, a different pattern emerged. And this pattern, this a different trade pattern emerged. And this trade pattern, it was based on mercantilism. Means these countries, now European countries, they wanted to maximize their profit. And earlier, they were buying from India, so India was getting gold and silver. But now they wanted to maximize benefits from trade, and they wanted their gold reserves to increase. But here earlier, India's gold reserves were increasing. So now they followed a different pattern. Now in China, India, Southeast Asia, for centuries, have been for centuries the origin of trade flows. And so, from very beginning, uh, the India, China and Southeast Asia, they have been the countries from where the trade flowed. They were the original points from which the trade flowed. And it involved luxury goods like spices and silk, tea, porcelain, etc. Now this involved a positive flow of capital, because they were giving their things to the trading partners, and the trading partners, they did not have much to give it to them except cash or silver. Now this pattern existed until the 19th century, when India was, so this continued, that the Indians, the Chinese and the Southeast Asian countries, they sold their things which were in high demand in Europe. So they sold their things, whereas the European countries, they did not have anything much to return to them, and so they paid in money, they paid in silver and gold. This went on till the 19th century, till the time, or you can say till the time India was made a part of the British Empire. And so India was incorporated, India became a part of the British Empire. The Chinese trade fell in the hands of the western powers, England, France, United States. And Southeast Asia was colonized by Dutch, English, French and Spanish. So all these countries who were earlier making a lot of money through trade, who were basically the origins of all this trade, now they were basically colonized or got under the control of these European superpowers. Okay, the colonial involvement of Western European countries starting in the 16th century created new trade flows as well as ensured. So, after this colonies were set up, so what happened? This started from the 16th century, and though it took a time it took some time for them to establish total control, but it started from the 16th century and it created new trade flows. Earlier trade flowed from India, China, Southeast Asia, but now they created new trade flows, and they ensured that even the existing trade, over the existing trade, the Europeans, they somehow get control. So the new, they formed new trade flows over which they had control, and they even wanted to have control over the existing trade, this Asian trade. Now, for instance, Spain and Portugal, the first European maritime powers, controlled much of the global flows in the 16th century. Now, Spain and Portugal, they were the first European countries, maritime means connected to sea. So they had naval power, they had more power when it came to sea. So that is why Spain and Portugal, they controlled a large part of this 16th century trade, all right, and much capital flowed back to Europe. So a large part of this money, it went back to Europe, because Spain and Portugal, now they had such they were so good at sea, and so they were able to control this trade, and as a result, they control this trade. They made their colonies in some places, in different places, and from then they had good naval tactics and naval power, and on the sea they were good. They had better navigators and people who were good at sea, and so through that they were able to go and take control over the countries, make colonies, and then as a result, much capital flowed back to Europe. And now the European countries, they were forced to discover new trade routes, and the reason were obvious. What was obvious reason? There was a great demand for Indian spices in Europe, such as and as the trade brought in much profit, because the spices, they were in great demand in Europe, and they were sold at very high prices. Now, because Europeans during the winter season, they mainly depended on meat, and these meats and all, they could only be preserved, and their taste also could be improved only with the use of spices. And then there was also a great shortage of gold in Europe, and so that is why the Europeans, they were more attracted towards India, because gold was the only means of trade, and they could find gold in India in sufficient quality, because they wanted more gold, all right, and gold can be found in India in greater quantity, and in so they were especially, you could say, they were interested in finding these new trade routes, so that they can have control over India, so that they can increase their wealth. They can take this gold from India, and then they even depended on the spices which came from India, so they needed those spices also, but they did not wanted to pay money, all right. They wanted to take money from here, and the best possible reason could have been, the best possible outcome would have been that they control India, or they colonize India, and so they get control over resources, over things also, and over governance also, and then easily they can even take money from here, and so because now everything would be in their control. Okay, so then, and hence the different European powers, they made their best efforts to find a new trade route, and so because they were so much interested in trading with India, because from here they can find all these things which they wanted in their countries, and India had gold also in a large quantity, and so they put forward their best efforts to find a new trade route to India. And so Christopher Columbus, he set sail to discover India, but instead he discovered America in 1492, and finally it was Vasco da Gama who succeeded in discovering a sea route to India in 1498, and He reached Calicut, which is in the western coast of India, after covering a long distance around Africa. So finally, with the Vasco da Gama, they found a new trade route, a direct route, sea route to India. Okay. So have you all understood what we have done today?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it clear to all?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.